There we go. Thank you. Shops at Sportsman's is still scheduled for spring because it kind of relates to what's going on with Project Room Key, as I understand it, in the hotel demolition. So if anyone has any information, if it's still on for spring, because Project Room Key, the funding for the project was extended until September at 100% funding. So that's all I got.
There's no scheduled demolition. In fact, they've said they may be backing out of that whole idea, the last I heard in the last 24 hours.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Barry.
And I could tell you in Studio Sydney Business Improvement District, our Zoom meeting last night, they are not extended through September. Matter of fact, they're winding down probably at the end of March because the shops are supposed to open anticipated toward the end of April. And they really don't want that project being operated beyond that time is really the understanding.
Right. So I have not spoken to Ben Besley about extending Project Room Key. I doubt that he's considering it. I did hear of the extension on NPR yesterday, but his plan is to have the shops open and not continue with Project Room Key. I doubt he will make that decision, although I have not spoken to him and gotten that confirmation directly from him. So moving on. Richard Adams, did you have a question? You have your hand up, or are you just not lowering your hand?
You mean Niederberg?
He's muted. No, Adams is 008, that phone. So
Yeah, and he has
but
his
he
hand.
seems to be muted.
Right.
Okay, there he is.
I raised my hand when there's a question of whether or not that was possible. So that was the only reason my hand was up.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So any other public comments on non-agenda items? Yes, Sue Taylor, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so sorry, I couldn't get the raise hand thing to work. I apologize.
That's okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Sue Taylor, the lead of the Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch, and we're coming to the Land Use Committee to request a Neighborhood Council letter of support for the Adopt a Median project. The location of the proposed project is Valley Heart Drive at Laurel Canyon, and it's an approximately 250 square foot parcel that until now has been mostly weeds, trash, and the occasional encampment. We're proposing a fully drought tolerant planting that will mimic the plants and feel of the medians at Ventura Place and Laurel Canyon, as well as other nearby center medians on Laurel Canyon. Our Neighborhood Watch is committed to doing the installation as a community project, as well as providing the ongoing maintenance of the project. We believe this project will improve the neighborhood appearance and demonstrate our pride in our community, at the same time providing a way for our neighborhood to engage in a project that will both beautify and build community bonds. We've been working with the support of Council District 2, and they have helped us in the initial meetings with the city to assess viability for the project. We're grateful to have had Wild Flora donate time to provide the design expertise for the project. And now we're ready to proceed with submitting our application to the city with the full support of Council District 2. We would also like to ask for an official letter of support from the Neighborhood Council for this project. I do have pictures if you'd like to see them.
So you know what we'll do, Sue, is we're going to strike this special meeting, and then we're going to take your question that you just proposed to us, and I'm going to bring it down later into the agenda and just bring it after we've listened to everyone else. We'll just come back, circle back, and listen to what you have to say and see your pictures and so forth, and see how we're going to move forward from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right,
Yes,
thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else on non-agenda items, a comment? So, okay. Moving on to, do I have a response from anyone on the committee to what was proposed, asked just now?
Do you want to discuss that now or later?
The median,
We're coming back to it.
we're coming back to it.
Oh, okay.
The
Let's do it then. Let's do it all then.
Yeah. So, moving on to discussion in regard to the Park Motel at 12963 Ventura Boulevard, Studio City, California, 91604. We have Andy Solomon, Deputy City Attorney, Neighborhood Prosecutor Program from the Van Nuys Division. So I welcome you, Andy. Thank you so much for being here, making the time for us. So do you want to listen to what all the stakeholders that are here for the Park Motel specifically share their comments, and then you reply?
Let's do it the other way around, because I feel like there will be more comments than my own comments. Does that sound-
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you all for having me. My name is Andy. I'm the neighborhood prosecutor for Van Nuys Division. Studio City is mainly North Hollywood Division. However, the Park Motel falls in my area. The way we divide it is based on LAPD divisions. Many of you are aware of the neighborhood prosecutor program from the city attorney's office, but if you're not, a quick brief overview is that we are prosecutors that handle projects that cannot be solved by conventional means typically. So something where, let's say, prosecution keeps happening, but we don't see an actual change in the community, the neighborhood prosecutor would get involved. So the Park Motel is a great example where we're seeing a lot of criminal activity, but the typical means of prosecution are not stopping the problem, the root cause. I actually, so this is where I'll come in. I was not very much aware of the Park Motel's repeated criminal activity. I'm not on all the forums. I'm not on Nextdoor. I just hear from the neighbors directly. Usually I hear from police. I hear from city council. I hear from anyone really. And I'll work with anyone and everyone to come up with a solution. So this was brought to my attention just maybe a week and a half ago, I think, Lisa, you brought it to my attention. A lot of the neighbors brought it to my attention all at once. So that means you guys had a coordinated effort or something, or it was just so bad, but good on you for telling us. The next step I did was I reached out to see with police, like what's going on. And they said, yeah, there's a lot of activity there, but they had not opened a project with me. Maybe that's, I don't know who's to say that they should have opened it with me. Maybe they were just thinking it was clearing up. I have no idea, but now it's gotten my attention. So I then reached out to our abatement unit. So we do have an abatement unit in the city attorney's office that's separate from mine, but we work together. That's if the bar is kind of high, but if there's a lot of criminal activity at a location, and we're prosecuting and there's nothing happening, we get to a point where we think, okay, when should the government step in and say, whoever's controlling this property does not care about the law and we need to stop this activity. Right now, I'll tell you guys that the nuisance abatement team, they're aware of the location. I can't say what they're gonna do. I can't say what they're doing now, but they're aware of it, which is a good step.
Mhm.
At this stage, I'm going to be talking with LAPD more about what I can be doing. I'm going to be talking with the abatement team about what I can be doing, because I'm somewhere in the middle between police contact, which is happening, in real time, and then me, and then abatement, which is kind of a longer road. It's a bigger solution to a bigger problem, if that makes sense. So normally in a situation like this, I would come to you guys and I would report all the things I've done in the project and what's the next steps. But since it's a very fresh project for me, I'd rather hear from you guys what you're seeing, what questions you have, and what you expect. So we can open this dialogue and keep it going. So
Okay.
I'll open it for that.
All right, perfect. So one of the reasons that I took on the Park Motel and put it on land use is because, well, it is a business on a piece of property. And I am also the business representative for the Studio City Neighborhood Council, as well as a council member, Krikorian appointee to the specific plan for Ventura Boulevard. So this all encompasses what I'm all about with my involvement with Studio City. So that's why it's here at land use. I'm very concerned about it. Since Carolyn reached out and sent me the photographs and the emails, I was horrified. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Adele, do you want to start calling out one by one? You have 2 minutes each. Please keep your comments to 2 minutes.
I'm going to time it.
Thank
You're
you.
gonna have to call them out because I don't see any raised hands.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we could start with Richard Adams, I believe.
That would be me. Mr. Solomon, I live I live across the street from Park Motel. We moved here in '03. It was a pest hole then. It's a pest hole now. It's been a pest hole all the time in between. My wife actually helped engage in a raid that closed down a heroin selling place there. They've closed down human trafficking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've got your email address and stuff. I will contact you offline. I've gone to my senior lead. I've gone to was the lady who took over from the previous prosecutor, neighborhood prosecutor. I've been on CPAB. Everyone knows this is a problem. I've seen parolee rouse. Everybody shows up and they go and they knock on the door. They bring the person out. They cuff them while they search the room. It's just an ongoing problem. And the management team that is on the ground there is, the few times I've tried to talk to anybody there, they're what's the politically correct term? They're from the Indian subcontinent. They're in the generic area that it encompasses. And if they speak English, they hide it really well. So there's really nobody on the ground you can contact. And anything you saw in the email that the lady presented has been going on continuously before we got here, and God knows how long it's going to go. So if you have to get your ducks in a row with the abatement people, you will have enough proof for them to step in. It'll just take a while to collect it all now that somebody's finally interested in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Adele?
I go next door to the coffee shop, the Red Window, and I have been doing that for some time, and it actually has gotten a lot worse. It's a lot dirtier. But also next door, 2 of the restaurants have gone out of business, so it's just like this dead zone on Ventura Boulevard right there that is it's quite dangerous. It's gotten more dangerous in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so. So
Can I ask you, Adele? You say that it's gotten a lot worse, and you frequent the coffee shop. Is that maybe related? I mean, is that from the time of COVID that it's gotten a lot worse, or you're saying like years?
From the time of COVID, it's gotten a lot worse because from the time of COVID, those 2 restaurants have closed down. So there's now trash, in front of the restaurants, trash in front of the hotel. It's very shady. I mean, Richard, I'm sure, has seen it over the years, but it has always been, not a great place, but it didn't used to be so dirty and trash, etc. That's since the time of COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, over the past couple of years, the homeless have been trying to make their way into any little corner they can find within any restaurants that are closed for remodeling or getting ready for construction and whatnot. And I think it's just because of COVID has gotten bigger and bigger. But this Park Motel has always been a problem because of the kind of traffic that pulls in, the prostitutes that frequent in the area there. It brings in a lot of people, gentlemen, you saw some of the pictures where, people are smoking crack in their cars. And that's unacceptable, especially on Ventura. I mean, nowhere is it acceptable, but especially on Ventura Boulevard. Carolyn, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yes, my name is Carolyn Urey, and actually I've been on Nextdoor for quite a few years. I got involved in it in 2017, and we've been trying I mean, we keep getting these photographs by this one gentleman who obviously has a very good camera because he gets some really good close-ups of what's going on there. And it's a sin. I mean, it really, it's just awful that it's happening in Studio City or anywhere, actually. I just heard from Sheila Kuehl's office today, and she is very, very interested in the photograph of the gentleman who's smoking crack with two kids that are under 6 years old in the back seat. And we're trying to, we know that they frequent the Park Motel and quite often, and we're trying to get a license plate to see if there's anything, you know, that Sheila might be able to do there. It's just, I just don't understand how this place can stay in business. That's my number one concern. Is it's almost where you start to wonder who's getting paid off, because this place has been in business. I think the owners bought it in 2008, and it's been continuously getting worse and worse and worse.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you,
You're
Karen.
welcome.
So, which leads me to the question of, Andy, what do we do about it? Is there hope that we can do our due diligence and push this towards possibly having it closed down if enough people come together?
So that's really what I don't like to jump the gun on my goals, but based on everything I was hearing, and Carolyn, it's nice to see you. I know we've been emailing as well.
Nice to see you too, Andy.
Between all the emails I've received and all the information I've received, I'm just guessing, and from these conversations, I'm guessing that this location is not interested in changing. Just guessing.
Right.
I don't know. I haven't had contact with them, but I'm just telling you guys where my thinking is going. The issue is, I have to somehow, well, not really me, but somehow the abatement team has to be convinced that there is enough. It's a huge undertaking to step in as a government and take someone's property.
Sure.
So they have to have enough, or they have to be convinced that they have enough to make whatever action they take withstand any scrutiny, legal scrutiny, even you know, public eye scrutiny. Like why is this? They have to do their due diligence. My job in this case, I'm going to try to tee this off as best as I can. I mean, if I can wrap it in a bow and give it to them, I would. From my understanding, they already started looking into it anyways. So that's good news.
So is there a way that you can cite them numerous times or find them? So like each time it gets, the fines get bigger and bigger, and
it depends. So there are ACE citations. Typically we do that for like party houses, let's say, right? You know, you have a party house, instead of going the total criminal route, the police can give you an ACE citation that's just a fine that increases substantially with each subsequent citation. I don't know how to attack this yet. I mean, we have to look at what's going on. I don't think a fine is just enough. I mean, I think we're looking at serious crimes here. So if there's a lot of crime, I got to figure this out, because it's hard to pin it on the owner of the location, right? You know, if there's a prostitute, then the prostitute and the John are committing the crime. The owner is going to say, what do I have to do with it? That's why it's a little bit tricky, but I'm not in that unit. So that's where me and the police can maybe work together and put together something and present it to the abatement team and see what else they need. Unless they say, hey, we have enough, we just have to go on. And I don't know what they're deciding, but I think at the point where if they start to tell me things, I don't know if I'd be able to share it at that point, because it's going to be potentially, you know, they're going to file something. But at this stage, I know they're looking into it. I don't know what they're thinking. And I did tell them I'm meeting with you guys, and I would like to share with them what you guys tell me. And they said, oh, they really wanted to hear your input. So I'm kind of, again, I'm just starting working on this one. And so it's not a lot to report on my end, but there are avenues that we want to take and we want to examine.
No, this is actually perfect to get the dialogue going and bring it to your attention, get those red flags up, and keep the conversation going, continuing, moving forward. Richard Niederberg, you got a question? You have to unmute yourself first.
Yeah, number of years ago, having a problem dealing with, again, I was bench officer then. I was because at the Universal Motel, there was a huge amount of prostitution, not surprising. So basically, I was able to talk to some of the deputies and get some people down there from building and safety, and they were able to start busting the prostitutes. As soon as that happened, I mean, almost immediately, the owner sold it because without the prostitution, it was no longer a viable business. Now it's another motel. Seems to be better, hotel, whatever, in East Studio City. That's one way of solving the problem. You can start getting the conviction, so it's no longer viable to be a motel without the prostitution. Thank you.
Actually, Richard, the Universal Motel is no more. We actually were successful in pushing hard enough to have that motel demolished. So there were plans of building a new beautiful hotel there attached to the Boulevard Hotel, but those plans have been for the past few months put on the sidelines. So that is the story of the Universal. Anyone else? Anyone else have a comment, question? Yes, Jesse.
Yeah, Andy, thanks so much for your efforts on this case. Might be a wild idea, but pitch to them that with that, sort of mid-century construction and that gorgeous neon sign, they ought to just rebrand themselves as a kind of revamped sort of hipster paradise. Quite honestly, I mean, they really could, with those bones, do a really, sort of updated 50s Rat Pack style cool thing on Ventura. It would go well. I mean, it would play, I think. Throw it out there, see if they nibble. But just, I guess, anything that you can send in their direction at this point. But I really think that's a viable idea.
That's a great idea. And I've done that with other businesses along Ventura who have been violating. And it's a business, and I want them to flourish as a business. I don't want them to completely shut down if I can avoid that. So I've offered suggestions to other businesses before. In my experience, I've had the nods and the smiles, and the attorney's like, yeah, this is a great idea. And then 6 months later, I catch them violating the same law that they're on probation for. I'm like, what happened to our plan? Like, I gave you guys time to change this up, and I don't know. I give everyone a chance. So we don't know. I mean, these are all different people. Hopefully, I definitely will pitch that idea. I hope that they take it, and then maybe we can call it Porters or something.
All right. Anyone else? That's a really good idea, Jesse, actually. And then we'll have raves, and then we have a whole new set of things to complain about. All right. Anyone else? No. All right, Andy, thank you so much for your time. Please stay in touch with us, and I'm sure we will do the same.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for all that you're doing right now, because this is really quite a problem. I mean, there are drug dealers living there.
Yeah.
So yeah, besides the prostitutes. So
yeah,
we really need to take care of it.
We went through the same exact situation over at the Universal Motel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lived through that. It's very disconcerting.
Yes.
It is horrific to watch because we see it. I mean, they
it's right out in the open.
Broad day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. Most definitely.
Right.
Well, I thank you for championing this. I really feel like I need to get as many people involved as possible, and it's nice to hear back from Sheila Huell about this. So I hope we can keep it going.
Yes, definitely. We will. We definitely will. We'll stay on top of it.
Lana had a comment.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, somebody needs to help me figure out what is the proximity of the Park Hotel to that county parking lot where we're seeing a growing number of
It's about
unhoused
3 miles.
people. 3 miles?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That's all I needed
Mhm.
to know. Thanks.
Anyone else?
I would just add that I would gather to say that there's probably some correlation and some uptick of the activity at the Park Motel affiliated with Project Roomkey at Sportsman's. Just because of that, the element, and sadly, but that's really what's happening. I know in the Business Improvement District, we've had a lot of concerns about these people during the day. They're there at night, but they're out on the street during the day. At the moment, it's completely locked down because everyone in there, I think there's 160 occupants, but they cannot let anyone out until they're 14 days without a COVID case, and they haven't been able to achieve that. So things are pretty locked down there, but they've got a whole slew of problems. And I got to believe there's some correlation, but there were problems at the Park Motel long before Project Roomkey came to Studio City. So
Absolutely.
be that as it may, I've watched it, known it for years, and it's never operated as a true hotel or motel as we would think it is.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it,
you can book it on booking.com if you'd like. I mean, they actually have booking places for the Park Motel online. You can.
Well, I've never gone that far, but interesting.
but that is a piece of
May I
information.
say something? May I say something?
Yes, Sherry.
Lisa?
Go ahead. Hey,
Hold on, Richard.
No problem.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Hi. I live next door to Richard Adams, directly across the street from the Park Motel, and I've been here for over 30 years. And this is the first time that anybody has brought this to this extent, to this degree. And I thank you, Carolyn, and I thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for trying to do something about this. They do get filming. They get the studios go film, and I think that's where they're getting a lot of their money. If there's any way to stop them from using that hotel for filming, that might stop. They might, have to sell or have to do something.
However, I'm Stuart Kessel. That's my wife, Sherry. They haven't filmed there in quite a while now, probably a couple of years.
Well, since Corona.
Well, actually before that. But we've had police cars, unmarked cars in front of our house filming some of the action that's going on there over the years. This goes back at least 5 years. And we've confronted the police. They're undercover, and they say, they're working on it. And they're just looking for a reason to go ahead and step forward with more action. We haven't seen them in a while. I think the last time I saw them was maybe a year or so ago. But in addition, the restaurant that's right adjacent, it's owned by a woman in North Carolina, Cary, North Carolina. First name is Linda. We called her because her number was in the window. We called her a few days ago about the trash buildup. And basically, she had someone clean up all the trash in front of her restaurant, and even part of the trash that was adjacent to the Park Motel. And I think if we could bring her into this, I think she would be very interested in pursuing things because she's having a real difficult time renting her property. And she thanked us a million times over, but within 24 hours, she cleaned it all up.
Thank you so much for the support. Really
Our pleasure. Sherry, can you send me Linda's number when you get a chance? Can you give it to Carolyn, or just my email address is L?
Give it on next door.
Yeah.
I can give it.
I'm not on next door, so I will not get.
Lisa, I can get it for you.
Please, thank you. Richard, did you
And
have,
Sherry and Stuart are great neighbors. They put up with me.
perfect. Did you have a question? Richard?
No, I was going to comment that I don't sit out there and watch everything all day, every day. I have a life, believe it or not. But there is very little foot traffic in and out of Park Motel, at least in my random observations. So I really don't. The people at Project Room Key are busy going over shoplifting at Ralph's. I really don't think they have time to come down to Park Motel.
It's so unfortunate. The
They're in lockdown, but there are people.
Yeah,
I've seen it at night. Richard, they're on bikes and they leave the Park Motel and they bike down. But the Project Room Key has been in lockdown, so you're not going to see any foot traffic.
Well, there's various values of lockdown, but yeah, like I said, nighttime is a little more active. Gee, what a surprise! This time when I used to go out to repossess cars. So I mean, I've got the perfect LPOP to keep eyes on things. If anybody wants to work with me on that, I just have other things to do with my life and constantly monitor somebody else's property.
All right. Well, we're going to look for Andy to work on this, but it's a collective effort.
Yep.
Yeah. And I've already emailed Andy and offered my services. So
I can help with Linda's number and Carrie. 1 second.
No, we should have. No. We don't want to put it.
Don't read it out loud.
But thank you. Okay.
Lisa, you will have it from me tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Richard.
Because I've talked to her in the past as well.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Sherry. All right. Bye. Okay. Moving on. Number 6. Update of the Historic Cultural Monument application presented to the Cultural Heritage Commission for the Weddington Golf and Tennis Club to declare the property an historic monument, case number CHC-2020-7764-HCM, ENV -2020-7765-CE, located at 4047-4155 North Whitsett Avenue and 12506-12630 West Valley Spring Lane in Studio City, California 91604. The applicant is Terry Austin. Take it away.
Hi. So I put in the application last August and it was deemed complete in December of 2020. And then I was put on the agenda for 2021, January the 21st. And I presented my application to the Cultural Heritage Commission. And the staff report that was done on my application was that they thought it was, it merited further discussion, and it received a unanimous commission vote to do that further study. So right now what will happen is that the staff will do a field study and a field visit, and then they will do a study, and then they will submit their further recommendation to the commission, and there will be a second meeting. And if at that meeting, the Cultural Commission again agrees with staff, because sometimes they don't, but if they agree with the staff that it should go forward, they will recommend it for a cultural historic nomination, and then it would go to City Council. So the next step will be, because the staff report will be done by the staff, the next part that we as a community can be involved in will be the upcoming second meeting of the Cultural Heritage Commission. That date is to be announced. It will most likely be in March at some point. And at that point, if people who feel strongly that they would like to weigh in on their feelings about this property would be welcome to do so through either email or calling into the commission meeting. And the nomination is for the entire property, not just, some people said, oh, that's already been done for the clubhouse, the large golf balls, which are called programmatic architecture, and the putting green. But in fact, my application was for the landscape because it meets the criteria to be designated as historic. A historic landmark designation does not prohibit or stop development. It merely gives an opportunity to negotiate with the developer on what would be best for the community. And there's a process for them to go through. So, but it is important, if you feel strongly about this, that you be heard, and there is that opportunity. And I would like to request, and I don't know exactly how land use would do this, but I know that the ad hoc committee about the property mentioned the community's feelings about it. And I think it would be valuable to have, I know it would be valuable to have a statement from the land use committee of Studio City Neighborhood Council about how important this property is historically to our culture and history. So I want to throw that out there. I don't know what happens next with that.
Okay. Do you want to give us just a couple of minutes of your presentation, because it was so well put together. I attended and I listened in. I had to walk away due to work, but I did listen in its entirety, and I was really moved by it. There were so many things that I didn't know about the golf course itself, and you did such a beautiful job. Did you put all the slides together yourself?
Oh no, Lisa, I could not claim credit for that.
Right.
I mean, I did the application as a private citizen on my own, you know, my name on it. But I did engage professional people who are preservationists and historians. And what I was so fortunate in is that because this property has in 2008 and 2012, the attempt to develop it was made, there was already a very comprehensive study done by architectural resource groups. So I was really fortunate, because that is thousands and thousands of dollars worth of, if you hire someone to do that. And they had already done it for the previous developer who had tried to develop the property. Now, because that developer put in plans to the city, that study became part of public record. So it was available to me to use. So I had this very professional study done by preservationists that in their study said that this qualifies for the California registry, for the National Registry. First, it's already on Survey LA, which are all different what do you call it, platforms, or what, I don't know the proper word, but it's already been recognized on different levels. And frankly, I thought it already was a historical landmark. I was shocked to find out that it wasn't. So so anyway, in the presentation, I mentioned that it started in 1955, and it was originally started by a guy who was an actor named Joe Kirkwood, and the original name was Joe Kirkwood's Golf Center. And it was always meant to be a community spot. And in the 1950s, there were it was still legal to have covenants against people of color, people of certain religions, even women, to own property or belong to certain clubs. And Joe Kirkwood, being an actor, and actors are the second oldest profession, I'm a proud SAG member, you know, very liberal and very welcoming. It was never posh, it was never exclusive, it was always inclusive. And right from the beginning, he gave free golf lessons to women and reached out to children, and it was always very open to everyone. And so that was the main part of my presentation, is about how much the property has been part of our neighborhood and always been open to everyone. It's never been a private club. It's always been open to anybody who walked in the street. Many times developments are thought of as NIMBY, like not in our backyard. And we say, no, come to our beautiful backyard and enjoy. Everybody in Los Angeles, come enjoy this beautiful piece of property. So that's how it's been since the beginning. It qualifies because it has been in the same use for over 50 years. It's always been a golf course. It never was changed into anything else. So, it's always been a golf course. The programmatic light bulbs, those big golf balls that are out there, are actually a type of architecture that is significant. The little house, the little golf club, a house was built to resemble the houses in the neighborhood. So it fits a lot of the criteria. And so and as I said, I worked with professionals and they were the ones who put it together, and I just did the verbal aspect of it. And I did find some of the pictures too. It was really fun. I did like a year and a half. I had other people helping me with it. And, I don't know what else. I don't know how much you want me to go on about it. If anybody wants to listen to it, it is on, if you go on the zoning website, there's an MP3 and you can listen to the whole thing. And thank you so much, Lisa. I know you were on because I saw your name on the list of things, and thank you for doing it. I just hope everybody will call in for the second meeting and just say what you feel about that property. You don't have to be a golf or tennis person. Maybe you just love walking down what almost is like a rural lane on Valley Spring and Bel Air, and all those trees. I mean, it's such a gorgeous. So just say what you feel.
So I was going to suggest that, and I think I did put a link on our agenda that leads you to your report that you can listen to your presentation.
Yes,
right?
It's on there. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the tennis courts, which are every bit as important to this neighborhood as community as the golf course. The reason I made the presentation on the golf course was you're only given 10 minutes to present, and the golf course checked all the boxes for historic. And so I went with that. But the nomination is for the landscape. So going forward, if the commission agrees that it meets all the criteria, then the onus will be on our councilman to support the nomination. And at that point, we have to say to him, there is no downside for Councilman Krikorian to not support the nomination. Like I said, it doesn't stop development. At the end of the day, it doesn't prohibit development. It just gives a bargaining chip. And there would be zero reason for him to not support it. So when that time comes, when it goes from the commission to council, hopefully, then I would hope that we would all let him know that this is important to us, and we want him to support the nomination. I don't know how many people have seen the signs around Save the Gem of Studio City, or the little billboard that's on Whitsett Boulevard. Just saying. But he needs to hear from us too, that it's important to us.
Right. I think we heard you loud and clear. Yes, Adele.
I was just wondering, because on the historic heritage, commission, they have a spot for neighborhood councils to make either write a letter or make a community impact statement. And because we did do that ad hoc committee, I do have community input. And I believe, Terry might have gotten some more community input, so we could, sort of gather that. And what do you think? Do we have to bring it to the board?
Here's the situation. Yes, that is usually the protocol of how to go about filing for and getting a letter and a CIS. So I am not sure, I'm not certain, and I have to look into this, if in fact, because there is a development going on and there is an application that is active, if we can intervene in that way. I would like to, as a stakeholder, go ahead and support 100%. But I just want to make sure with councilman's office, planning, how we would go about doing that for an active application. Yes,
there is one note, and if you listen to the whole project, you know that the lawyer for the owners, the developer, was not opposed to it.
Right, I know, I was there. Ari was the one who was in complete support. He was there, he was present. He had nothing but positive things to say about it. Anyone else? Richard, you have a question? You have to unmute yourself. Yeah, nope, unmute. Yep.
Okay.
I do.
Just for the record,
I'll be right with you, Barry.
Property, southern border was Ventura Boulevard. It was Ventura County Road at the time. Ventura Boulevard. and he also operated the bowling alley. Also, it was one parcel, and yes, there's a river in the middle of it and a small road, but it was one parcel. Thank you.
Barry Johnson?
And he had tennis courts where Staples now is. But what I was going to mention is neither the cultural status or Harvard Westlake's application for doing the DER, neither one of those entities has a council file yet. So we could not do a CIS towards either one at this point. We could do motions to the cultural affairs or cultural committee that Terry attended. We could do a motion to Paul about what Harvard Westlake wants to do, but there's no council file for either yet. So,
Right.
May I ask a question, Lisa?
Yeah. Thank you,
At
Barry.
at the beginning of the CHC meetings, they
Uh-huh.
always, for every agenda item, they always ask if there is a CD representative or a neighborhood council representative. So even though there isn't a case file yet, the fact that for an agenda item, they ask if there's anybody to weigh in, it seems like it would be counterintuitive that you would have to wait for something to be filed if something is put on their agenda prior to there being a file. So I don't know, Barry, and I know you know this stuff down, all the dotted I's.
yes, the neighborhood council would be entitled to speak for 5 minutes. In fact, our neighborhood council 10 years ago was at the forefront of promoting that change to allow 5 minutes. In fact, if you go to city council, you don't even have to stand if you're a neighborhood council representative, but you have to be appointed by our president to do so because you are speaking for our board. So our board would have to agree upon what that we were going to say in that 5 minutes at your next meeting, Terry. So yes, we could do that, but we'd have to take the position on the whole cultural status. And then either Randy would do it or he'd appoint somebody to do it. It doesn't have to be a board member, but they'd be speaking the line of what the board voted on. So.
All right. Thank you, Barry. Patty? Kirby?
Could we not at least write a letter from the land use and the board regarding the historical support to the historical commission?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Lana, do you have a question? No? Anyone else? Let me see. Richard Niederberg, Richard Adams. Richard Adams, did you have anything to say or add?
Been there, done that. I'm shooting an email with the 2969's email address and what I believe is a corporation that actually holds title of the property.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So I propose that we go ahead and propose a motion that the Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council recommends that the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council take the following action.
I think you'd have to bring it as a motion yourself, though, because number 6 doesn't say possible motion.
Right. I'll bring it myself, brought by me.
Happy to second.
Thank you. So I will recommend that the following action be taken into consideration. So the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports The application presented as is to the Cultural Heritage Commission for the Weddington Golf and Tennis Club to declare the property an historic cultural monument, along with the case number CHC 2020-7764, HCM ENV 2020-7765 CE, located at 407-4155 North Whitsett Avenue, 12506-12630 West Valley Spring Lane, Studio City, California, 91604. So I'll go ahead and write this up and bring it forward for a full vote.
We need to vote on it?
What's that?
Do we vote on it? On you? You need our vote?
Well, I'm bringing it to the board.
Okay.
So, because I don't have it listed as a motion, and just the present. So I'm going to go ahead and take this motion to the board and have a 15 or 14 member vote from there. Yeah.
Suggestion that you just write it in such a way is we want the cultural heritage to do a finding that it is cultural, historical, whatever. That's what we're really advocating.
So, Cultural Heritage Commission and its findings for the, I will take that friendly amendment. Thank you. And its findings. Okay.
Lisa, may I ask, if you write it that way, that you're asking them for their findings, does that not mean you then have to do another motion about supporting it or not?
No, because it's in support of it, of their findings. So whatever.
Okay, okay.
I want them to make a finding that's historical.
Hang on. Richard, go ahead. Richard Niederberg.
I just say we're advocating, we want them to make a finding that it is a historical, cultural location.
Right.
We want them to make that finding. We don't care how they get there. We want them to make that finding.
Well, they are doing that. And we're in support of it, 100%. We're in support of this application that Terry Austin has filed with the Historic Cultural Commission. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to take this motion for a vote to the neighborhood council next week. Okay? So expect to see it there. Please attend so that if I need for you to speak on it for at least a minute or two, that you will. All right?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on to number 7, presentation, discussion, and possible motion for the proposed project, motion picture industry pension and health plans. MPI proposed project is to demolish the existing building and construct a new surface parking lot to create additional parking for their existing facility. Case number DIR 2020-6658 SPP and EN 2020-2020, 6659 EAF, located at 11343-11345 West Ventura Boulevard, Studio City, California, 91604. This is represented by Jessica Hins here now. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Lisa.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So thank you for coming back. I know you were here in November, and we didn't manage to get to a vote for various reasons, but we're here now. So if you want to take a couple of minutes and refresh our memory and take it from there.
Yeah. Is it okay if I share my screen? I have a presentation.
Yes, of course.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I'm just getting this going. It says I'm not able to because I'm not a host or, a moderator.
Yep.
I can give a history if you want.
How come I don't see you on my, are you under a different name?
No, I think it's just Jessica. It might not have my last name today.
I don't even have a Jessica. How did that happen? Oh, here you are. Can you share it now?
Yes. Okay, hold on. Okay, can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So my name is Jessica Hensier. I'm a project manager with Craig Lawson and Company, land use consulting firm. I'm here representing the project located at 11343 to 11345 West Ventura Boulevard. Lisa already said the case numbers and everything. They are on the screen here if you'd like to reference them. This is our second presentation to the land use committee here. So we're grateful to be back and hopefully answer any other questions you may have. So the project team is on the phone on the Zoom call today. I'll turn it over to the applicant and owner in a second, but we also have, aside from MPI, who is the applicant, we also have JPA Strategies on the phone. They are on the line and they can also help answer questions. So I'll turn it over to Dave Aswin from MPI for just a moment to tell you a little bit about who they are and why they're pursuing this project.
Yep, thanks, Jessica. I'll try to be brief because I know we're kind of recapping, and thanks for having us back. Do appreciate it. We have our main headquarters at 11365 right next door to this property, and we've been there since the early 1980s. The trust funds have been around since the early 1950s, so since the Joe Kirkwood days, I guess. And we provide health and retirement benefits to many members of the entertainment community, those who work in unions kind of behind the camera. We have 135,000 individuals and beneficiaries that we serve. So we own the property where our headquarters are. We would like to be there for a very long time, but we continue to grow. And despite what has happened with production with COVID, we expect a strong resurgence in production, and we expect to be very, very busy in the future. The situation is we have about 350 employees and contractors who are on site with us. We have about 260 parking spaces currently. So we're looking to expand parking for our employees and also for our visitors, so that we have ample visitor parking. That is the main purpose of us wanting to build a parking lot right next to our building.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, so just to refresh everyone's memory where this is located, so the site outlined in the yellow here is the existing MPI facility. So this is their main building here with the surrounding surface parking lots. And then this is the project site here. There's an existing office building on the site that's proposed to be demolished. And then the site would be developed into a 32 space parking lot, which I'll get into more detail about, but it's just generally located near the corner of Tujunga and Ventura here with the LA River behind, and generally along the commercial corridor here. This is a view of the existing buildings. So this is from the street, and then here's a bird's eye view again, highlighting the existing facility and the proposed building, the proposed site where the existing building will be demolished. Again, just some zoning information. We're in this commercial corridor here with the river and other uses. So as you mentioned, this is the demolition of the existing building and construction of the surface parking lot in coordination with the existing facilities for MPI. The project will have a ton of amazing landscaping as well as some new signage, one new monument sign along Ventura Boulevard. There will be 32 new parking spaces with a mix of compact stalls, standard stalls, accessible stalls, and electric vehicle stalls. Regarding the entitlements that we're requesting from the City of Los Angeles Planning Department, we are requesting specific plan project permit compliance with the Ventura Cahuenga Boulevard Corridor specific plan. We aren't asking for any deviations or adjustments or anything. So this is just to comply, to verify that the project does comply with the specific plan. And we did submit studies and everything to show that we will qualify for a class 32 categorical exemption from CEQA. So in terms of our project timeline, we did begin our initial outreach to the council office and the neighborhood council back in September of 2020. We submitted our applications to the city in October of 2020. We met with you guys the first time around back in November, where it was just a general conversation. December of last year, the case was assigned to a planner, and here we are back in February 2021, formally presenting to you again and hoping to make a motion this time. So here's the existing building. You can tell we're on Ventura here. It's pretty straightforward. This is a site plan of the proposed parking lot. So there'll be a new curb cut here with the vehicle access located off Ventura with all of the new parking spaces here with all the mix that we've talked about. There will be a gate that remains open during the day but is closed at night. And there'll be a connection to the existing facility through this corridor here. This is the landscape plan. It will be lushly landscaped here with ample trees and adequate shading to meet the specific plan, as well as important landscaping features along Ventura Boulevard that we think will make this attractive. This is just an example of our lighting plan. So it's slightly hard to make out, but these circular round dots are the locations of our lighting, and we've designed the lighting as to be not obtrusive to adjacent properties or to the public right of way or anything, but to provide enough lighting to make this secure and inviting. So here's a rendering of the site of the proposed project. This area here is the proposed project with the surface parking lot. You can see that there'll be the electric vehicle stations. This is an example of what some of the lighting will look like. See some of the other vegetation proposed, and then this is the one sign that is proposed, and everything has been designed to be cohesive with the existing facility. So that concludes our formal presentation. Our team is here to answer questions, and we'd love to see you guys support this to the board. Thanks, Lisa.
My pleasure. Thank you.
How do I stop sharing?
Okay, so I'm going to start this off, the conversation off. So you're obviously going through planning, and you aren't requesting any exemptions from this specific plan at all. You are complying and in compliance with the specific plan. So having said that, if I may suggest, not sure if you've considered, in conjunction with the landscaping that specific plan requires from this project, might you consider a small build out, a narrow storefront, maybe 2 or 3, because at the end of the day, to have a parking lot on Ventura Boulevard is just not something that I am thrilled about as a resident, as a chair of land use. To me, it would be a lot more attractive And it would make good use of the space instead of just having a parking lot with landscaping. I mean, you can clearly from your picture see that the landscaping, though beautiful, but not lush enough to really cover the parking lot. This is, to me, again, you have a really great opportunity here to do something very special with this space for Motion Picture and its employees, and also for the community. I mean, this is just what, like 32 parking spaces, and you have a little over, or is, I can't remember exactly how many employees, a little over 100 employees, and you have so much parking currently existing within the building. You have underground parking, you have side parking, back parking. So, because if you put a building there, your setback is going to be what, 18 inches? But if you're doing parking, your setback will be 15 feet, right, of landscaping. So why not incorporate your landscaping around a narrow storefront or 2 or 3 within the 15 feet of your allotted landscaping area? So I don't know, this is just, I've been thinking about this and thinking about this and thinking about it so much. I really have invested so much time and effort into this east end of Ventura Boulevard that for me, it would be just something so much more exciting to have a couple of small storefronts in the, you know, to put a juice bar or a coffee shop or a, I don't know, that's just off the top of my head. But something that's like inclusive of the community and not just this concrete laden, asphalt laden parking lot for the employees next door. You have a 15-foot landscape buffer, which you're gonna have to do. And it's great. I don't know.
I've put the landscape plan back up on the screen just so everyone can see again.
Thank you.
This is the landscape buffer that you're speaking of. Here's the property line, and then it would go back 15 feet
right
around here. So just from a building perspective, I don't think it's feasible to fit a structure in this area. I think Dave can speak more to their intent for this.
If you did do that, if you did have a narrow structure or 2, I mean, it's not gonna, within that 15 feet, what is that, like 15 by 33, I think? It won't take away from your parking spaces. It's minimal parking. And take some of that landscape area to add, you know, a couple of benches, chairs, a few tables, just to make it more inclusive. I'm just not thrilled about a parking lot on Ventura Boulevard, especially because we're getting a market 2 parcels down. So yes, I'm going to open it up to questions and stop talking. Adele.
Raised hand.
Give me 1 second, Barry. Adele, go ahead.
Okay.
You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. You know, you just made me think of the red window is a tiny little beautiful kind of brick like structure that is, it's really small, and their business has gone crazy, and it would look really nice right there to have a little sort of kiosk coffee shop, you know, that's really good coffee, and maybe a few places to sit, and you know, it would be quite nice, you know. And then maybe there's the possibility of other kinds of, like a juice bar would be also nice on the other side. Like you could do, you could do something really cool that would be make for more street traffic and make it more inviting and less of a, big parking lot there. That's certainly a possibility.
Well, my goal is to have pedestrians walking, right, to within the community and make it really friendly and inviting. And this is a really great opportunity for motion picture to be able to lend itself in a way where you're not just shutting us out by your building, your parking lot, and your parking lot. And I'm sure you have plans to take over the corner at some point because you're not going anywhere. That's on the corner of Tahunga and Ventura. So it's just the thought. Jesse, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, just going off what Adele said, Red Window is such a great inspiration, and likewise, Hugo's Tacos up there on Coldwater, not the proper Hugo's restaurant, but just the taco spot, is a similarly really compact building. And elsewhere in LA, there are a number of really small spots dispensing hot food, Mexican or otherwise. There are a number of potential applications for a really narrow, limited scale food or beverage dispensing operation curbside.
I agree 100%.
Just wanted to clarify, Lisa, that the setback requirement is actually 10 feet. It's not 15 feet. When you take that into consideration with the 18-foot setback, you're actually, less than 10 feet wide there that you would have a buildable area. So I don't think that would be feasible from a standpoint of building code and all of that, but just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you for that, but it is something to consider regardless. Adele?
Oh, I had another issue that I wanted to talk about, which was just asking what kinds of trees and what size are they? And because in your drawing, are those palm trees already there? Because they're huge. The ones in your drawing, or are they going to be planted new?
Most likely everything's going to be landscape new.
Yeah, everything will be new. The shade trees are different species on the interior of the parking lot. I believe it's an ash tree. I have the information here. But,
I don't know besides California live oak and walnut what are protected trees, but it might be good to have, sort of native protective trees in there.
Yeah.
And
we have to use landscaping that's compliant with the specific plan and the river improvement overlay district. So there's a narrow list of species that we can use. So everything has been designed in compliance with that.
Right, but I am going to insist on large canopied trees.
They are large canopy trees that are at maturity going to shade 50% of the parking lot area.
Barry Johnson, did you have a question?
Yes, I was just going to say, if they were to build two small little businesses up front there, it's going to trigger parking requirements for those businesses. And they're building this parking lot for themselves, not for the businesses. So keep that in mind. I have two questions, maybe they can answer. I'm curious, when you demolish the existing building that's there, is that building not on a slope? It's not on flat ground? And doesn't that mean when the building's gone, you're going to have to fill in with a bunch of dirt to make it level with Ventura Boulevard? And my second question is, I don't know if there's a way to have a condition that basically commits them to, if any, after 5 p.m., that they would be committed to perhaps any restaurant that would want to lease parking from them in this area. That would be wonderful. And if we could get some sort of commitment that after, I'm assuming their business is pretty much closed after 5, that there may well be restaurants in that area now or in the future that might be willing to pay for parking in the evening. So just something, food for thought in the off hours when they're not using it. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify that we are providing 12 36-inch box trees that are the Montebello ash species that will be on the interior of the parking lot.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Jessica, for that.
And then regarding the grading and the valet, I think John on our team could respond more to the grading and how that's going to work. And I think we discussed being open to considering the valet option last time. And I think Dave could reiterate MPI's stance on that consideration. So John, do you want to answer the grading question?
Sure. I'm John Perizzo, the architect. Yes, the slight, pardon me, excuse me, the site, the site does slope.
Oops, we lost you, John.
To the north end of the property.
Sorry, we lost you there for a few seconds. Do you have a call coming in? Something happened where your voice dropped out completely. Can you repeat that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, the site does slope north to the north and a down slope from Ventura Boulevard to the north end of the property.
So are you filling to make it flat?
In order to meet the ADA accessibility requirements, we do have to bring in some fill dirt at the north end to be able to level out the south end enough to give ADA access. That's correct.
So there'd be a dip at the south end?
No,
you
no.
dig out dirt? Okay.
No, the south end, it will remain as is at the elevation it is now.
Oh, really?
At the
Okay.
south end at Ventura Boulevard, yes.
So, and then are you going to be knocking down a back wall at all to merge both parking lots together?
No.
So it's going to stay completely separate. So
yes.
Because I'm trying to picture it, when you pull into the driveway, there is a decline, right, to the back.
Yeah, it starts about 10 feet in, which is into the property. It does start the downslope about 10 feet into the entrance once you get past the back of the existing sidewalk.
So it's going to be completely one level.
It's a surface parking lot, yes, and it will slope more gently than it does now to the rear of the property.
Okay.
Dave, did you want to answer the valet question?
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, that question came up last time, and we remain open to that idea. Currently, I spend a lot of time at the office there, less now with COVID, but I don't see a lot of demand currently from the adjacent restaurants. But certainly we would be open to talking to any restaurant owner, and our business closes we close our visitor center at 5 o'clock, and our last employees go home between 6:30 and 7. With certain parameters, we would be open to discussing it.
Richard Niederberg, you have to unmute yourself first before you can comment.
Okay, I'm very familiar with the property. I had a theater at 11373 Ventura Boulevard, which is now the westerly parking lot, the structure. We moved in as a small theater. There was a very ratty motel next door. It was bought by the pension fund that used to be at 11969 Ventura Boulevard. They built it, they moved there, and then after they were in for a little while, they bought the property that I had the leasehold hold on. That was fine. I, of course, have been watching it all the way through, and it would seem to me that if they just have the same attention to detail east of the building as they do west of the building, it should be just fine. Yes, I don't like seeing parking lots in the building anyway. If I had a choice, that would be a screening room, you know, for people part of the pension plan. But I don't have my choice. I'm just saying, if it looks good from the street, that should be enough. And I think that having extra parking is a really, really good idea for Studio City. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Dave, I think there was some confusion about how many employees there were.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you could clarify that one more time, please.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica. We're certainly not building parking spaces for the fun of it. And it does, I agree, Lisa, when if you're familiar with the property, it looks like we have a lot of parking. And we do. We have around 260, 265 parking spaces right now. So that seems like a lot. But the fact of the matter is we have over 300 employees. So we do absolutely have a parking issue. And that building actually will hold many more than 300 employees. It could hold up to 400, 450 employees. And we are growing. Every year we grow a little bit more. I mean, production just keeps on ramping up in LA. Once we get past COVID, it'll come roaring back. So, we need to have the parking capacity to meet the capacity of the building in order to stay there. And that's our goal. That's really our long-term goal. Is we love the building. We love the location. Our employees love coming to work there. We enjoy all the amenities around it. I think we're very good neighbors. We keep it clean, safe. And as you know, we're a trust fund. So we're in it for the long run. We're going to be there for when people retire 50 years from now. And we would like to be in that same location as well. That really, truly is our goal. And our goal is not to build parking lots. It's the last thing we want to do, really, but it is something we need to do in order to service our participants. We need employees to take care of our participants. That's kind of the bottom line.
I hear you.
Also visitors, right?
Yeah. We do get pre-COVID. We get between 50 and 100 visitors per day, and we're going to make this parking lot at the front of our building our main parking lot for visitors. In fact, our only parking lot for visitors. So a much nicer visitor experience to be able to pull in off of Ventura, walk through a nice kind of gazebo into our courtyard, into our front doors, rather than coming in essentially through our underground parking, kind of having to
it's not
meet with
very
security, and it's not very nice. It works, but it's functional. But this does present another opportunity for us, which is to improve our participant experience, which is also very important for us.
Yes, it's undeniable that you keep the area very clean. It's very tidy. It's always landscaped very nicely. Do not have an issue with that whatsoever. The one thing that I do want to preface over and over is the more green, the better. The more landscaping, the more lush. If you're not going to consider putting a small, narrow, little storefront, I would definitely push for that. Anybody else? Richard Adams, did you have a question?
Quick. First off, this proposal, if for no other reason, and make sure that absolutely positively, forever and ever, Platinum Live cannot come back. The people who live across the river from there will be thrilled.
Thank you.
And the other thing is while Barry's point about parking is well taken, I think you'll remember that I sent you an email last year when this first came up. My concern is that the parking lot, when it's not in use, needs to be secured in a manner so that it suddenly doesn't become a camping ground for our free-range vagrants that roam back and forth through the neighborhood. And I couldn't really hear, because speakerphone and everything, about how the MPTF was going to secure their lot. I thought I heard them say they were going to do something to make sure that it couldn't be abused, but that definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed so that when it is not actually in use, by the MPTF for their guests and their employees, etc., that doesn't just become the latest open space for the shopping cart mafia to land and never be able to be removed again.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, in general, I've got no problem with this project. I understand your point about parking lots on Ventura, and I'm glad that the applicants noted that this is inside the LA Rio overlay. That is something I worked on years ago, and I'm glad to see it being paid attention to and being followed rather than ignored in the absence. That's all.
Right. Thank you. So
One more thing.
give me 1 second. To preface the security aspect in the evenings for this property as well. Richard Niederberg?
Yeah, I just want to say that it will make the view of the building aesthetically better in that it's curved. If you're coming down Ventura Boulevard from the east westbound, having that just be a very low parking lot rather than building opens up the building, the half circle there basically. It makes it much better looking for Studio City, for it to be a parking lot with very low, so the rest of the building sticks up. Thank you.
With tall trees. Anyone else?
I just have one question on security.
Yes.
To Jessica or David. Does the building currently have 24-hour security, manned security, roving or on site?
No, we don't. We currently have security from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then the building and the parking structures, as Lisa noted, there's plenty of parking around it already. We have high fencing that with the secure top to it. I forget what that's called.
The spikes, I think.
The spikes, yeah, the pointing out spikes. Yeah. It's not razor wire, it's attractive. But that's been our security posture for many years. And we actually do really well with that. That fencing goes all the way around our property. It goes along the riverside, along both sides. And we really have not had an issue. And we're going to do the exact same thing with this, with the new parking lot. Obviously, clearly, we want to protect our property. So if it ever became necessary for us to have 24-hour security, we would do it. But to date, that hasn't been an issue, even with the increase in homelessness around our property.
Yeah,
So
I would just conclude, as a real estate professional in the area and doing a lot of brokerage, it's admirable and goes to the need that this institution needs parking, because to pay what they paid for this piece of land and to turn it into parking, that just goes to show you how tall the need is for every parking space that they can get. There's not a lot of investors, and they're not your typical investor, but there aren't a lot of people that would purchase what they purchased and turn it into just parking spaces.
Yeah, Dean, thanks for noting that. We have an advantage in that assets like this piece of property are assets of the trust fund. So we can value them in that way. And we know that, Ventura frontage property will increase in value over time. So fortunately, we're able to look at it in that way, which is how we look at all of our investments. And it provides us with an advantage that any other owner wouldn't have.
Sure. No, I understandable. And it's going, operationally first and foremost, but rationally, long-term, yes, it's an assemblage. And to Lisa's point, obviously, and I think we spoke about it the last time, at some point, the position may change with the Sam Landers, the Western piece. That's obviously, perhaps next.
All right, all comments are in. Let's go ahead and propose a motion. The Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council recommends that the board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council take the following action. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the proposed project presented by the Motion Picture Industry Pension and Health Plan, MPI, to demolish the existing building and construct a new surface parking lot to create additional parking of 32 parking spaces. Am I correct with that? 32?
Yes, 32.
32 additional parking spaces for their facility. Case number DIR 2020-6658, SPP, and ENV 220-2020, excuse me, 6659, EAF, with the condition, with the following condition, to entertain the possibility of with conditions to entertain the possibility, should there be a need, of renting and or leasing parking spaces to restaurants within the vicinity at 11343-11345 West Ventura Boulevard, Studio City, California, 91604. Do I have a second before we open it up for discussion? Lana, thank you. Lana seconds. Jessica, David, anyone? Do you have comments? Or we take a vote?
To me, I would just say for the valet or the parking consideration, that just to note that it would be during hours that the MPI was not in operation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And David, you said that it closes at 7? Did you say?
Yes, our last employees go home at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday.
So then I would say 8 or 7:30.
7:30 is fine, Lisa.
Okay. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but
No, I understand.
entertain.
But remember, the employees are not parking on this parking lot. So anybody that would come as a visitor would be gone by the time they close.
Right. But I
Yeah,
still make
well,
sure
just to clarify, it's a dual use parking lot. It will be about half of it will be for visitors. That's about our need, on an hour by hour basis. And about half would be overflow parking for employees. So it's about half and half. But regardless, these are things that can be worked out. We could have certain employees park elsewhere and so forth. And we'll just remain open to the idea. Just Jessica's point is we just can't have it impacting our operations.
Are the lots going to be tied?
Say that again, Richard?
Yeah.
Are the lots going to be tied legally?
Oh, yeah. Yes, they are. Legally, they are. Yes.
Thank you.
So I would say 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
I think that we could live with that for now.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that, Lisa. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. And again, this is just so you can take it into consideration should you be approached by any of the restaurants that are within the 500-foot radius of this parking lot.
We would love to see more restaurants come in.
Well, you have the opportunity to put a narrow one in your landscaping area within the 15 feet. Yeah. So do I have a vote? Here we go. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Where's Jesse?
Lisa, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote as I am a beneficiary of this fund.
So am I.
As am I.
Well, I'm not. I'll vote.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for coming back a second time. Thank you for wanting to work with us. I live across the street, so I will be seeing those trees directly. So make them
You
big.
know where to call. You know where to come.
Yes.
Thanks so much, and I'll coordinate with you about the board.
Yes.
By email or whatever.
Yes, I'll email you tomorrow.
We really appreciate you guys making the motion, and we want to thank everyone on the committee for considering the project.
Thank you. And we want to support you 100%. And it's amazing that you're growing and you want to expand and you want to take over, but just take into consideration the community around you, right? We don't want to be a concrete laden boulevard. We want to have personality and a sense of design to make an impact and make it more walkable and friendly and so on and so forth. So I don't want to repeat myself. I've taken a lot of your time already. So thank you. I wish I'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Let's go beautify East Studio City.
That's right. One little just parking lot at a time. All right. So moving on. Like I said, number 8 and number 10 have been postponed to next month. I'm going to go ahead and circle back and bring in the median, adopt a median. Let me go ahead and read my notes and what I have here. So this is a motion that I want to consider. We're going to have a presentation with this. Adopt a median landscape project proposal by the Footbridge Square Neighborhood Watch Group. The median is a small triangle of land at Laurel Canyon and Valley Heart Drive on the west side of Laurel Canyon, just north of the river. We have Sue Taylor. I'm really excited about this because I love landscaping. And
Thank you so.
Yeah, piece of property counts. So go ahead, Sue.
Thanks, Lisa. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
All right. I think you're going to have to allow me to do it.
Have I not?
It didn't.
Did. Okay, let me do that. There you go.
Okay.
Just so you know, Sue, everyone on the committee has received your packet. So we can just breeze through this.
Yeah, I know that it's been a long evening. So
no, we're still good.
Yeah.
I want to wrap it up. But,
yeah, I mean, I hit a lot of the key points when we spoke earlier, so I think that that we should be able to get through it pretty quickly. So, and just in case anyone doesn't know, the Footbridge Square area is basically bordered by Laurel Canyon and Whitsett and Moore Park to Valley Heart. So we're a small little community. We have approximately 300 homes in the area. And we have a pretty strong neighborhood watch that's been around for many years before I started doing it, but I think I've been doing it for about 10 or 11 years. So we're coming to you just requesting a letter of support. It would have to be obviously on the neighborhood council letterhead, supporting our project that we're submitting to the city shortly. So for anybody that hasn't seen it before, it's this little triangle of land where Valley Heart sort of curves around and meets Laurel Canyon. And right now, I tried to give a view of sort of what it looks like from overhead. This is what you probably see though, when you're driving by. Occasionally you might see taller weeds and or encampments, but generally it's been looking like this for the last 5 or so years. And so our neighborhood watch decided that we wanted to try and work on getting the beautification done on this. And we've actually been working on it for quite a while. And we're working with Councilman Krikorian's office to sort of assess the viability of this earlier this year. So this is what it looks like right now from 2 different directions. It's about 250 square feet right now. And the bollards are there, and there's some question about whether they have to stay there or not. So that's part of what we're appealing to the city about, as to whether those need to stay. And if so, can they be painted and so that they fit with the landscape better, or whether they can be removed. And there's some history apparently on why they were put there, but so it's unclear at this point whether those will stay or not. Basically, the challenge that we were looking to address was that obviously we've been struggling with it filling up with weeds and people littering there and all sorts of issues related to just it looking terrible. And it being not a very welcoming place to enter into our little community. And so we wanted to have a project that our community could do together that is sort of a community building project. We also wanted to make sure that it met criteria so that it would be sustainable and not put a burden on the city. So, you know, it's all going to be drought tolerant plants with no low watering requirements. And we designed it, you know, thankfully, the designs that we have are working with plants that can be hand watered, so we don't even have to bring in irrigation to that area, which allows it, if there's a different use for it in the future, other than it just being dirt, you know, it could be easily repurposed at any time in the future if the river walk, you know, ever expands to that north side of the river. And we designed it, you know, trying to keep in mind that we wanted there to be no specific paths through it, but leaving enough space so that people can walk through it, because we know that people will be cutting through as they're walking through it. But because the sidewalk there is ADA compliant, and there's no cutouts on the other side of that because it's bordered by the street, putting any paths in there would have created some challenges. So just leaving it so that people can, you know, naturally cut through if they want to without harming the plants was part of the design that we came up with, basically. So this is what the layout looks like. We were very fortunate to have Wild Flora, who have done a lot of the other medians in the area. They volunteered their time to put together this plan for us and to make it look cohesive with the median that's at Ventura Place and the other center medians along Laurel Canyon Boulevard as well. So it looks like, you know, it goes along with like how those were designed, and in general uses a lot of the same plants, although we had to restrict some of them because it is going to be a hand watered situation. So we had to make sure that they were very drought tolerant. So the plants that are going to be utilized are these plants here. And those were chosen because they would establish well and not need a large amount of water, and could all be on a very similar watering schedule, since our neighborhood watch group will be handling the maintenance of that as well. So hang on. And so these were the medians that we looked at when we were looking for inspiration. As I said, Wild Flora has done a lot of the medians within Studio City. So it'll sort of have the same kind of feeling and use some of the same plants that are used at these medians just down the street at Ventura Place, both on the east and the west side of the street. So we started this project really quite a few years ago, and it's just sort of been dragging along. And finally, last fall, we started doing joint meetings with the council office to check with the city as to whether it was even viable, because there's some utility easements there that had to be addressed. They are all behind a chain link fence, so we're not going to be interfering with any of that. But we also wanted to take advantage of the fact that the gas company is going to be doing a project there, and wanted to be able to sort of follow that up and redo this shortly after they're done. So the design's completed now, and we're requesting a letter of support that you would, be willing to support us in this project. And I mean, we're probably looking at a fall planting at the earliest, because this has to go to the city. Everything's backed up right now. We're probably 3 to 4 months out for getting approval from the city at the very earliest. And then it has to be scheduled, and we have to, source the plants and do it all. So we're probably looking at, even in the best scenario, looking at a fall planting schedule at this point.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. So one of the questions that I have is maintenance. Who's going to be watering? Who's going to be staying on top of this? Who's going to be cleaning up? Who is going to take over once you move away or your group members move away?
Yeah, so we have we have a situation where we have a pretty strong neighborhood watch, and we're going to have people committing to doing the watering schedule. The HOA that is directly across the street from this is actually going to be providing the water for this, and they've been part of this from the very beginning, from the very inception of it. It's obviously in their best interest to have that area looking nice as well. So they're 100% on board, but we wanted to make it a community project and not just have it be their project. And so we're sort of all in this together. In meeting with the council office has committed that the maintenance people that are doing median maintenance right now and that maintain the trees along Valley Heart will also do maintenance on this for us as well. But the community we have basically a schedule and a sign-up sheet that will be taking on the watering. The watering in outside of the summertime is only going to be like once or twice a month. During the summer, that it's going to be more like once every 10 days. But it's real. The plants were all picked specifically so that they would be drought tolerant and not have huge water requirements.
Did you consider putting in a water meter, and did you get any bids for that?
We can't. We're not. So when we did the analysis with the city offices that were involved, because there are some gas company and other utility easements that are underneath this, it prevented us from being able to do any sort of irrigation system at this point. Also because there has been talks of potentially taking a bike path along that north side of the river. So we can't do anything that would, that can't be easily undone basically. So irrigation was a non-starter from the people at the city.
And also with, you mentioned the gas company, which they have priority, right? So if they wanted to put a box in.
No, it's actually, so the city has confirmed that it's a city right of way at the triangle that we're doing. The gas company, so there's going to be a box, the painted electrical boxes that are above ground. There's going to be one of those directly behind the fence. And we're going to work with the council office on painting it so it flows nicely with what we're doing from a plant design perspective. But the gas company work is all happening behind that chain link fence where you drive, where the utility vehicles can drive down into the north side of the river. Mm-hmm. It all happens behind that chain link fence.
So one of my main concerns is graffiti. When graffiti does go up, I would make sure that someone from your group is on it within the first 48 to 72 hours and have it repainted and removed. Um,
because since it's only going to be plants, I think we're mostly just looking at curb or sidewalk graffiti. Is there something else that we should be considering?
No, just you just don't know what people are doing and thinking when you're not around and looking.
Understood. Yeah. And like I said, we have the benefit of having people literally looking down on it from the HOA that's there from that complex. They're looking down on it on a daily basis. So it's easily monitored. Yeah.
With pride, I hope. Richard Adams, you have a
Raised
question?
hand.
Yes, I'm getting to you. Barry Johnson, go ahead. Give me a second.
Yes, as a board member of the Studio City Beautification Association and an offshoot of SCRA, I just want to say those bollards are a good thing. In fact, we are now looking into some more bollards at the 101 and Coldwater, where we twice have had cars hit trees that we've had to remove. We also had it across from the Boulevard Hotel near Lankershim and Ventura, where we've had to replace trees. So the bollards are a good thing, because every time you've got to replace these things, it costs a lot of money. So you may want to paint them or something, but bollards are a good thing. You've got to protect your asset. On water, I would seriously revisit that. I think the city has steered you wrong. We have not yet ever done a median in Studio City where we did not have water from DWP with the little fenced-in box with the water, and because we do drip lines. And even with the type of plants you're talking about, when it's 110, you need the drip lines in July. And I think it's a huge mistake to have a schedule of people to go over and hand water. That's just never going to work. And I'm telling you, we have every single beautified median in Studio City has water. So they're giving you a line of bull. That's not true. And as someone who has worked on the county and city bike path placement, we have over and over again, and this neighborhood council as well, has only supported the bike path in Studio City between Ventura and Whitsett, at least on the south side, because that gives bikers access to the businesses like Bonds and CVS. And there's already ramps there that are fenced off. So I just think they're steering you wrong on this water issue. There's always water that can be brought in, and there's always gas around that water. So that needs to be revisited. And if you need some help from me, I volunteer, because somebody's telling you wrong. And also, I believe Beth Diamond, who has been the person getting the permit with DWP for all of these medians you see around Studio City, could also be of help, because she's always been able to get the water in the cage, and sometimes usually it has like a timer inside it as well. So
Barry,
that's
Barry,
all. Yeah.
So I've been working with Beth on this for a couple of years, actually, because it was originally part of a bigger project that Studio City Beautification was doing, but it is so far down on the list that it's not going to be done for about 5 years if we go down that process. So yeah, so we definitely have gone through like that whole thing, and Beth is the one that told us about why they had originally planned. I mean, the original design was $150,000 design. Our neighborhood is not going to do fundraising to, to fund something, that expensive, which is why we're doing it as an adopt a median project, as opposed to doing it as a pocket park project. So Beth and I had quite a few conversations with the council office about this over the past couple of years, and we just weren't making any progress. So my understanding was that she is also in support of us doing this as a doing it as a adopt a median project. But I'm happy to circle back to you and chat about the water thing. I think, the main concern is that because we are basically funding this ourselves, anything that's going to add tremendous cost is just going to make this project not happen, and we'll continue to have a patch of weeds and encampments. So.
And I want to say, when we've done water in the past, it's been in the $2,000 to $3,000 range to get the water and the cage in place. So I don't know how that sits with you, but it's just so important to have water, and having a list of volunteers to go and hand water. It's better in theory than in practice. So I will get with Beth and get some more info for you.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Barry. Yes, that is one factor, right, that you want to get it done. Did you want to say something?
Is it my turn now?
Yes, go ahead, Richard Adams, and then Terry, and Lana.
I just listened to this long thing about water. First off, I just sent an email to Mr. Wildflora, Michael Schatz. Maybe you can answer this question for me. Were the plants picked out of the LA Rio overlay plant menu?
So I believe that they were, because they also just did another project that was also within that, that they recently had to get approved. So my understanding is that they are, and again, the part of the reason for those plans was to have cohesiveness to those two big medians that are literally half a block away.
Yeah, and as I said, I emailed the gentleman, and I'm big on the LA Rio because I helped make the plant overlay happen. I'm not completely thrilled that they put non-native plants in there, but enough is as good as a feast. And on the issue of native plants, semi-native plants, and watering, anybody who knows where I live, my front yard is all natives. Once natives are established, they live on whatever water Mother Nature gives them that year. Unless we have a massive century-long drought, they will be fine. The plants you picked, I'm assuming, fit into that category. Planting in the fall is a good idea because that's when you should plant natives or cast native wildflower seeds around so the rains can do their magic. And after they've been in for a year or so, even not getting watered in summertime should not harm them. They get some afternoon shade so they're not baked all day, every day like they would be in the center of a median of the street. And I think hand watering with this small piece of property, given where it's located and everything else, will be just fine. And as they're established, they don't need irrigation. Most of your native plants, like the oak trees across from me, don't want water more than they need. It's bad for them. So I accept and understand the concerns that have been voiced about the watering. I think in this particular instance, given the nature of the plants that are being planted, the physical location, you're going to be good to go once they're established. So you plant them this coming fall, assuming everything goes through. Hopefully we'll get a good solid rain. You might have to water them the first summer through on the schedule you have. Once they're in there and they're good after a year or two, you might just only have to monitor, and if everything's going good, you don't need to water. You'll be fine.
Richard,
and I'm glad that I want to finish off by saying I'm glad you took into consideration the utility easements with gas company, everything else. I brought that up with Lisa Kay, and I'm glad that was well thought out and well taken care of. I support this project.
Great, thank you. And I think I just should get in touch with her and get on her list of volunteers to water at least once or twice a month. Go ahead.
Well, I certainly drive by often enough.
All right, thank you.
I did want to point out that we're not doing any trees in that area. And part of that was because of the watering, but also because of visibility issues for traffic there. So everything is, in mind for visibility.
Thank you. Terry, Austin?
This is my neighborhood. I'm one of those 300 homes. And if Sue's in charge of it, it'll get done and it'll get done really well. And she will make sure, it's on, I promise you. I'm sure I'll be one of the people on that list. Right across the way from this little triangle of dirt are 5 condominium buildings with, a couple hundred people in them. And I really think that it won't be hard to get a few dozen who want to look at something rather than what they're looking at now, which kind of resembles a nuclear site. So I don't see any downside to this. And like I say, Sue does everything well. So just want to throw that in.
Amazing. Thank you. Lana?
Hey, Sue, hi.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to adopt this area. I thought Terry's description of it, the triangle of dirt, was quite accurate. I've passed it many times, and I just wanted to ask if, in consideration with those bullocks, I know they have reflectors on them. Was there any thought, I mean, is there light somewhere, like a low light? I mean, you don't want to emanate big light, but some kind of
I believe it's reflective tape
yeah,
on
it's
there
just
right now.
reflective tape.
The question is that the city was not, so the city said, you have to submit your project before we'll do further investigation about the bollards. I've been told anecdotally that the bollards were put there because people were parking cars there previously and they wanted to stop it. They were parking cars there for the farmer's market. And that's why they were put there. So I'm not sure that they're protecting anything else except to prevent cars from parking there. And so that's why there was a question that we might be able to get them removed. But if not removed, we're happy to potentially explore painting them, but still leaving reflective tape, so that they provide the same benefit from a reflective, the reflective tape perspective, but maybe fit a little better than the white and red, is going to fit in the landscape.
And thank you for that. I guess I'm thinking luxuriously, like some lower solar lights to make it sort of that attractive park landscape looking. Just a thought, if you got to remove them, if there was any thought about that. I mean, you don't want to have too much light going out to
Are you talking about the uplighting that
yeah,
adds
like a little uplighting,
light
or
to-
like parkway, when you're walking through sidewalks, even the tall sort of square ones with lights on the top, modern looking, something that would help with motorists at night to know that something is there beyond even the reflective thing, but also for people who are walking at night, might be something to have some light there
There's a big light pole at the kind of adjacent to it. So there's actually, big street lights right there providing pretty good lighting. I'm happy to go take pictures of it at night so you can see, the lighting there. But there are street lights there. I think that, if we were looking at adding lighting, it would have to be solar lighting. And then we have the issue of whether it becomes a target of theft. And also the budgetary, again, our little neighborhood watch is basically having to fund this ourselves. So anything that adds cost might prevent us from, being able to do
and
this.
that leads me to the next comment that I was going to make in chatting with Beth Diamond at the beautification committee. If there was any kind of private organization partnership, there could be an opportunity for y'all to find other sources of funding, possibly through the neighborhood council, but any monies that we donate would need to go through a nonprofit, and in the councilman's office also has matching funds.
Correct.
So anyway, just
yeah. So we are aware of the matching funds thing, and we're working on the budget right now just for the plant and installation. We have to take out asphalt, which is going to be a somewhat costly thing for us to do. And so that and the plants are sort of our primary focus from a budgetary perspective. Beth currently is holding some funds that were donated and earmarked for this project. So like I said, I've worked with Beth because we were trying to figure out the best way to get this done for several years on this to try and bring it to fruition. So we'll definitely be in communication with her as we proceed on if we can get approval to do it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sue.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to move to a vote. Yes, Niederberg.
Yeah, almost 60 years ago, until that point, I lived on the 4100 block of Vantage Avenue, and I crossed that parcel to going to carpenter school every day for many, many years. I'm very happy this is happening. There was no bollards for protection of my body back then. I'm glad there's bollards there right now. Please keep them. I don't care what color you make them. I just want to be able to walk between them. And when I walk in that area, again, I'm very familiar with that triangle, you know, because all through carpenter school, that's where I, you know, walk through. As far as the project itself, I think it's going to look good. I think that it will contribute to the community. I also think that some of a small amount of the money that from the market should go to utilize that, because it's kind of an extension of the market itself. Beautifies the whole thing. So I'm very much in favor of this project.
Great. Thank you so much, Richard.
I'm going to say one thing, Lisa,
Yes,
just in
go
closing. Many of you know I'm president of the Studio City Business Improvement District, and we have a $450,000 budget, and that district is from Carpenter to Coldwater. And our budget, while I'm not saying we have extra money, and we have a lot of constraints.
You just boast about $450,000.
Well, we use every penny, but we have assessments and we do contract with Wild Flora and Stay Green, and the Business Improvement District is the one that's maintaining the medians along Ventura Boulevard. But to my point, because I know Beth has discussed this, and I will get with Vicki Nussbaum, the executive director, but I will look into how we have a day porter service that sweeps all of the sidewalks. We pressure wash. We do a lot of things that keeps Studio City beautiful that people don't really realize are happening. These are tax assessments that are going on in the property owner, to the property owners directly in the district. That being said, I will look into it because Beth Diamond participates at our meetings as a guest, and she's brought this median up before. I'm glad to see that it's taken a new life, a quicker life, but I will see what with our labor we have that we can help perhaps maintain water, what have you, because we have manpower doing the same things in similar capacities.
Great idea. I think you need to jump on that, Sue.
Thank you. I will.
Lisa?
Dean, quick question. Dean,
Yes.
may I? Does the Studio City beautification, does the Business Improvement District do the watering of those trees along Valley Heart too, or that's separate? That the city's doing that, I believe.
Yeah.
Are you guys involved with that at all?
That's
the county.
I think it's county actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Terrific. Thank you.
Lisa, real fast.
Yes. 1 minute.
I sent you an email. Please forward it to the nice lady pushing this median adoption. Can probably be of great assistance to include, we might be able to get the asphalt out of the ground a lot faster, a lot cheaper than what they have in mind. So please forward it to her and tell her to contact me.
I will.
Thank you.
Ask her to contact me. Thanks.
I will. Thank you. Thank you all for all your input. I'm sure Sue appreciates it. This is great. Yeah, I'm all about beautifying Studio City and our neighborhood, making it more walkable and friendly to all. So I'm going to go ahead and move this to a vote.
Remember, this motion has to be brought because it's not on your regular agenda.
That's right.
So you have to bring it.
I'm bringing it.
Second it.
Great. Thank you, Richard. The land
For
use,
this, Richard will second it.
got it. All of you. The Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council recommends that the board, Studio City Neighborhood Council, take the following action. The motion is brought by me, seconded by Richard Niederberg and Richard Adams. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the adopt a median landscape project proposal by Footbridge Square neighborhood. The median is a small triangle of land at Laurel Canyon and Valley Heart Drive on the west side of Laurel Canyon, just north of the river. I think as is, supporting it as is. You've heard all of our comments. Let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Richard Niederberg, I'm taking that as your hand up. The motion passes. It's unanimous. Thank you so much. I'll put the letter together. I'll present it
The
to.
committee cannot take a vote on this. You
Okay,
have to just bring
I'm
it to Randy.
Okay, all right. Strike the vote. I'm going to take it to the neighborhood council next week, and I'll take a vote there. Okay, Sue?
Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Well, we got through that. Thank you. So wanted to make the announcement that Councilman Krikorian's office has a new field deputy looking over North Hollywood. His name is Cairo Rodriguez. He will be taking care of the North Hollywood side in Council District 2. We know and are familiar with Jessica Fugate, but get to know Cairo when you want to discuss anything pertaining to North Hollywood. He has been very helpful to me in trying to figure out a regular cleanup situation on Lankershim Boulevard at the 134 freeway off-ramp where the McDonald's is and the AM/PM at Riverside on Lankershim. So he's been really valuable. He used to work for Wesson. So he is now over at Councilman's office. So as I'm sure you have all heard me bring up the topic of the county parking lot, at the east end of Studio City on Ventura Boulevard across the street from the Sun Cafe. As you all know, I'm sure you have seen this parking lot become a homeless encampment and a major public safety hazard. So I had a phone call with Sheila Kuehl's office, specifically with Jessica Oriana in regard to this matter, to find out exactly how we can work with the Sheila Kuehl's office, with her office, to gain some control over this property. One of the things I did suggest was to consider possibly designating this county parking lot as a vaccination site. Jessica Oriana said that she had a meeting scheduled with Councilman Krikorian's office with Jessica Fugate and Lorraine, and that she would bring it up for consideration, but that council member's office had other plans for this parking lot. So we shall see what transpires there moving forward, but I don't know of any other vaccination sites in our community. So I would like to keep pushing this forward if we can.
Hand raised for this parking lot.
Oh yes, go ahead, please, Barry.
I was just going to say, we were talking about this parking lot at the beautification meeting this afternoon, and Beth had also spoken to the person in Sheila Kuehl's office. But you may have noticed where the Welcome to Studio City sign is next to Ralph's, there's now a sign that says no camping, and it's got a picture of a tent with a slash through it and a picture of an RV with a slash through it. And nobody's been camping back in there since that sign was put there. So what I said today at this meeting is, why don't we get 3 or 4 of those signs over at this parking lot? And if people think there's no camping or no RVing there, maybe they won't park there. I don't know, but it's sure done the trick where everybody was camping in tents right next to Ralph's wall under the trees there. So I don't know if any of you have seen this new sign, but I recommend it for the parking lot.
Okay, I haven't. I'll drive by it tomorrow and see. But thank you for that. Anybody else? Lana, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I too contacted Sheila Kuehl's office, asking just this week, asking about, I just contacted them as a community member, and wanted to find out who we needed to speak to about the growing problem in that parking lot. And they did refer me to a field representative, and someone from that office did call me, and they took information from me. I explained that it was becoming more of trash-ridden piles, along with now not only just vehicles but also RVs, and some other activity that can be assumed that goes along with this site. So they were going to look into it, and that's all. I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you being so proactive with that, because the more voices, the more phone calls, the better. Just to hold people accountable in these offices, to really come out and take into consideration what we're putting up with. So Richard Niederberg, did you have a comment? If so, you need to unmute yourself. Okay.
And Lisa, can I add one more thing about Sheila Kuehl?
Sure.
You may know that there's both a city and county redistricting commissions going on right now. And on the county side, that means the lines are being redrawn. And I'm attending and I'm advocating for getting out of Sheila Kuehl's district, which she lives in Santa Monica. We don't need districts going over the Santa Monica mountains. And we need a district to be like the entire valley. We are Sheila Kuehl's stepchild and have been so during her entire tenure as a supervisor. She's wonderful for the West Side, but she ain't for Studio City. So that's what I'm doing to hopefully make a change in a year, to be in a supervisorial district that, is mostly valley. And you need like 2 million.
I commend it.
It's 2 million in 5 districts.
Yes. Thank you.
And we got 2 million in the valley.
We do. Thank you for that, Barry. Appreciate your hard work. I'm going to move to just a couple of more items that I want to bring attention to. I have information and an update on the home sharing program. So I don't want to make this evening longer than it is. So if you are interested in it, if you want the online registration portal for that, contact me, send me an email and whatnot. I'll get you that information, as well as effective February 16, city planning will no longer issue pending registration numbers for the home sharing. Hosts will receive a final registration number by email once the department has processed and approved their application. So more information from city planning. There is more of an update on the Denton City bonus. That's a state mandated housing incentive program that's created to promote mixed income housing with on-site affordable units for developers who meet certain requirements. So if anyone is interested in getting any of that information, email me. I just don't want to go on and on about it and make this evening any longer. So with that, I appreciate all of your input and showing up tonight. Next meeting is March. Can you believe we're winding down to 2 years? 2 years that we've met on a regular basis. And all of you have shown up month after month. I don't even have to check in with you to see if I'm going to have a quorum. I'm so impressed, and I think about it a lot, all the time, as a matter of fact. And I'm so appreciative of you guys and your input and your knowledge and your just tenacity and caring about your neighborhood in Studio City. So having said that, I move to adjourn unless you have something to
Adjourn.
second it. Have a great
Okay.
night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank-
everybody. Have a good week.